Hello, Video Bloggins here. Um, totally forgot to film any content today, so you'll just have to deal with me yapping for this video. Yeah, it's not really been the most exciting day, which perhaps is probably why I've not filmed anything. It just seems to have flown by. I think, well, yeah, maybe I had one of those days where it was a bit of a mistake to sit down and something vaguely comfortable. Because I just, once I was sat down, I just struggled to do anything. So I didn't get anything done, or nothing that much done. So yeah, always joke that the two main types of ADHD, hyperactive and inattentive, or including combined, obviously, can be separated, can be given alternative names. That those being can't sit down and don't sit down. Obviously, you can kind of guess which one is which. Can't sit down being the hyperactive one, and don't sit down being the inattentive one. Because sometimes, if I've got inattentive ADHD, and yeah, I think some days, as soon as I sit down on the couch or somewhere, then you can write that day off. I just kind of get into a bit of a executive dysfunction spiral where I know I should be doing something, but I just can't seem to bring myself to do it. The sort of, I can be shouting and screaming at myself in my head, and I can't, that disconnect between knowing that I should be doing it and then actually doing it, just seems to be too big to overcome some days. And I think that's probably one of the most frustrating things about ADHD, is that, you should be doing a thing, whether it be tidying or, I don't know, anything, like a certain task needs to be done. But your body is refusing to do what your mind is telling you to do. It doesn't always, the way that it shows externally is, the typical stereotype of being a bit lazy. That doesn't help, because in here your brain is, your mind is, is as frustrated as a neurotypical person would be, but there's a disconnect between your brain and your body, almost. Like, your body doesn't want to, your body doesn't want to do what your mind is telling you, and it's infuriating. We get it. So it only makes us feel worse for neurotypicals to be like, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why can't you do this? You should be doing this. That kind of nagging, kind of oi, we know we should be doing it, but we can't really explain why we can't or why we aren't doing it. And it's like, the more you try to push yourself into doing it, the harder it becomes to do, because your brain's almost fighting itself in order to not do it. And that's, I guess, for me, that's like the most frustrating thing about, what's one of, I should say, the most frustrating things about having ADHD is because, I know I should be doing it, but starting it just doesn't seem to happen, or continuing it doesn't seem to happen. I feel like I'm going around in circles a little bit there. I'm not very good at explaining things. I think this is maybe an autistic thing. It's that I'm not very, like, what the sort of concepts and ideas of what's going on in here, I struggle to verbalise, and it's not because I don't know the words or I don't have the vocabulary. It's more about finding the right word rather than not knowing the word. If that makes sense. I don't know. There never seems to be the right word to describe what I'm thinking or feeling. And I don't know if any other autistic people struggle with that, but I certainly do. I definitely struggle with putting what I'm thinking into sort of a coherent sentence, and not kind of circling kind of round and around the point that I want to make and repeating myself, because I'm trying to find what I actually want to say, and then just latching onto the bits of it that I can kind of coalesce into a coherent sentence, and then just kind of going round and round in circles. So yeah, just one of the just a couple of the few frustrations of living with my brain in the funky way that it works. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's paradoxical, I think, being autistic and having ADHD, because sometimes it can be brilliant and great and amazing, but a lot of the time it's infuriating and frustrating. Yeah, I think that's it's probably about as close as I'm going to get to a coherent thought at this moment. So that, I think, is what I will leave you with. So I shall see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.